Are you looking to fully optimize SEO for your WordPress website? Today, I'm going to show you a full tutorial of the Yoast SEO plugin. Let's begin. Now, first, the step would be to install the right plugin. I want you to go to your WordPress dashboard. On the left-hand side, scroll down to plugins and search for Yoast SEO. Now, Yoast SEO is quite popular in this space. It's been around for a while and it's quite well rated on the plugin store as well. So it's rated at about 4.8 stars with over 10 million downloads, which is significant for a plugin. You can go ahead, hit install. Now once the installation is complete, you can go ahead and hit manage plugin. Now the first step over here would be to set up the plugin. So Yoast has a first time configuration, which a lot of people tend to skip. So we're not going to do that. Let's go over that as well and I'll walk you through the steps there as well. So when it comes to setting up Yoast SEO, now the SEO data optimization is something that Yoast SEO does by default. So you'll see that it's turned green in my case, that it's already analyzed my site and I can move on to the next step. So you go scroll down and click continue. The next step is site representation. Now, site representation would include a little bit about what kind of website it is. It gives you two options, if it's an organization or it's a person. So if you have a website that's primarily about yourself or what you do, then you would need to select person. But since this video and the channel is pretty much for news and media publishers, an organization would be the right option to choose here. So you can go ahead, select organization. The next information would be website name. Now the website name needs to be inputted correctly because that is what would go out to search engines as well. So however you spell your website, if there's a space in the name, if there's none, if there's a hyphen, ensure that you mention it here. Organization name is again, you can have a different website name and a different organization name. So in my case, it's similar. So I'm just going to put the same thing again. The third thing that it asks for is the organization logo. Now the organization logo is something that's visible on the search engine. When someone is searching for it, the default image, this can show up. So you need to pick a decent one for your website. I already have one that I've added for my favicon as well. So I'm going to use a slightly bigger size instead for this. So let's quickly select that, scroll down, hit save and continue. Okay. So now we are on to the next step, which is about social profiles. So site representation is done. Now social profiles makes it easier for you to add social media profiles for your organization. So as a publisher, you might have presence on Twitter, which is now called X, Facebook, Instagram, a lot of other places. So you can go and add those links over here. I don't have an active social media account for this demo website, so I'm going to skip this step. I'm not going to add much here. But if you have more than say Facebook or X, you do have the option to add another profile. So you can click that, add other profiles there as well. And once you're done, click save and continue. Okay, the next step here would be personal preferences. Now, what Yoast SEO does is it also sends out newsletters, and that is why there's an email collection box. So you can put in your email ID over here, and Yoast SEO will send you weekly SEO tips. So the frequency for their newsletter is on a weekly basis. If you would want to enroll for it, you can go ahead, put in your email ID here, and you can sign up free of cost. If you don't want to do that, you can completely skip it. It's not a mandatory step. The next step is for improvement for Yoast SEO. Now Yoast will use your data to improve their SEO suggestions and stuff. It's not going to take your exact data. It's going to be anonymously submitted. So you do have the option to say yes or no to it. The default is no, and I'll keep it that way. I wouldn't want to share any data there. And then you scroll down, hit save and continue. And that's it. The configuration for Yoast SEO is done. So the basic first time configuration is done. Now let's move on to the other bits of Yoast SEO. Now, in order to check more features on Yoast SEO, I want you to go back to your dashboard, scroll all the way down to Yoast SEO, and then go over to settings. The general does not have a lot of options there. The ones that are available, we've already set it up in the first time configuration, so there's no point diving in there. Now, when you come to the Yoast plugin settings, it has multiple other features that would be required by the site. Let's go over them one by one. So when you're looking at site features, SEO analysis, what Yoast SEO does is it can analyze the text that you've written in the WordPress editor and can go through it and give you SEO suggestions. It can also tell you if it meets basic content requirements, such as if the sentence is too long, if it's too difficult to read, active voice, passive voice. All these settings are right here. It's enabled by default. You do have the option to disable it, but I would heavily recommend that you have this enabled. Readability analysis, like I said, based on sentence structure. So when you're writing out content, that is where these suggestions would come in. I would walk through this and then I'll also show you how exactly these settings work in the editor. So readability analysis is something you need to have enabled as well. So third option is inclusive language analysis. Now what this particular feature does is it scans through your content and ensures that it's inclusive of all the audience. So for example, while writing, we tend to mention a particular gender. You'd write he, him, or her in particular. When you're writing, say for example, if it's sports, you tend to write directed towards a male audience. With entertainment, it probably would be different. So this can detect those elements in the content and suggest you to be more inclusive of all the genders and people. So that is one feature that you can enable. It's again available in the free version of the Yoast SEO plugin. Now Yoast AI is again, it's an AI feature, but you will have to use the premium version of it. And the final option here with respect to site feature would be insights. So insight usually talks about the length of the post, like how much time does it take to read a particular post that you've written, what is the density for certain keywords in your article. That's a feature again that's enabled by default. You're not going to mess around with it. Moving on, the next bit would be site structure. So think of site structure as how content would be structured, multiple content pieces would be structured on your website. So cornerstone content is an option where, say if you have the hub and spoke model, or if you have a pillar page and a child page concept where the core content or the main explanation piece is going to be the center stone, where every other pieces that you do are going to link back to it. So that is where the cornerstone concept comes in. So you can mark and filter out content that are very, very essential. So to give you an example, if you were to write an article on cricket, so the origin of cricket and how it's played can be a cornerstone article, and formats of cricket like a T20, ODIs, test matches can be different child pages which can then link back to it. So you're creating content in such a fashion, it's a good idea to have this enabled. It will also help you identify, it will help you assess which one requires to be the cornerstone content in order for other articles to link back to it, and the cornerstone article will ultimately gain more importance in terms of search engines. Okay, the next one would be text link counter. Now these are very, very simple tools. What it basically does is it counts the number of internal links that are in a post to help you improve your entire site structure. So internal linking is a very good habit. The more internal links you have, they serve two benefits. They first pass on authority to other pages on your own website, and also they act as guidance for your readers to read related articles, so they can follow internal links for whichever topic or point they're curious about and read more about it. So it's a great way of engaging your audience and keeping them on your website for longer. Third ultimate would be internal linking suggestions. Now this is a paid feature, but I'll give you an example of what this does. For example, you have text, your article is written out, you've pasted it on your dashboard. The Yoast SEO plugin will go through it, and based on the keywords or the words that are in your content, it will identify which other articles have the same keywords and suggest you to link them from to this particular article. So it's again a great way of building internal links, but it's a paid feature, so I'm not going to dive any deeper in this. As we scroll down, we come down to social sharing. So there are three primary features that are here, which is Open Graph data, X card data, and Slack sharing. So all of these are enabled, but I'll tell you what these particular features would do. Whenever you are sharing a link to a particular social network, you see an image that's picked up and text that's picked up along with the heading. So where does it pick it from? So that is what this particular plugin suggests that it would do. So it'll pick the title, it'll pick meta most probably, and a feature image. If this feature isn't enabled, whenever you were to copy, or any of your reader were to copy this link and paste it on any social platform, it would just go out as a link. It would not pick the meta title, the meta description, and even the feature image. So it's a good practice to have all social sharing data cards enabled at all times, because even if it's not you who's sharing it, anyone else who's sharing a link from your website is definitely going to have a much richer experience there. Now under tools, there is the admin bar menu. Now admin bar menu is primarily this tiny icon that you see in the admin bar. It's enabled by default. If I go ahead, disable it, I've got a new tab open over here, and as you can see, there's no Yoast button over here. I will quickly enable this, save settings, and show you that it reappears. So it's a convenience feature. It basically allows you to access Yoast anywhere. If you are on a different post, a page, even if you are on a different plugin page, you can quickly access Yoast. You also get usually notifications over here if there's anything that needs urgent attention. So it's a good feature to have enabled. So the last point would be APIs. So there's two features here in the free version of Yoast SEO. The first one is REST API endpoint. Now this is useful, especially if you're using a headless CMS. Now headless CMS will use an API to draw all the details about the content, and that is what Yoast will provide using this feature. If you're using WordPress itself, if this is enabled or disabled, it's not going to have a major difference. And the last point is XML sitemaps. Now this is the most important bit. Ensure that it's always enabled. So what an XML sitemap does is it kind of works as an index of all the pages on your website, so that search engines know where a particular article is present on your website, so it can quickly chart out the route through which users can go to it. You can click on the sitemap to get a full view of what all sitemaps have been generated. Now Yoast does this for your WordPress website, so it's essential to have. I've got detailed videos on XML sitemap and how to upload your XML sitemap onto Google Search Console. So I'll add the links to those videos in the description. Do check them out if you haven't already. The next would be Site Basics. So Site Basics has some of the elements already configured because we've set it up in the first time configurator. So your website name is already present. You can have an alternate website name. So for example, if for Quirky Coconut, if I call it QC, you can have that. TechCrunch is popularly referred to as TC, so you can have that as a website over here as well. You can add a tagline, like some taglines do show up on the theme, depending on the theme you've chosen. If you have a tagline, you can add that. You can also choose the kind of title separator you want, so that would work. Site image is the third option here. So site image is, think of it as a fallback option. So whenever you publish a post, it requires a feature image. So what happens when you forget to add a feature image? You know, you're in a hurry of publishing a news article very quickly and you miss out on adding the feature image. So this site image goes as a fallback option. So you can have your website logo over here to go up. A good idea would be to have it in the 1200 by 675 pixel size. It's a size that is chosen because most popular social media platforms use this 16:9 aspect ratio. So select a feature image that fits this particular dimension requirement. So I'll select the image. Let's upload a 1200 by 675 pixel image that I have. So ideally for the site image, a good idea would be to have a clean image with your logo on it, and you can also have news building or breaking news written in it, because most likely images like this would go out where it's breaking news and you have to publish it quickly. Apart from that, once we have the image configured, you scroll down to site preferences. You can restrict certain settings for authors, and it's only available to editors and administrators, especially when it comes to the schema box that's there in the Yoast SEO plugin. So this is visible when you are about to publish an article. So what this does is some of the advanced SEO settings would not be visible to authors. It is good only if you have freelancers who are working with you on an article basis. If you have full-time authors who are well versed with the topics, they know what they have to do, and they are knowledgeable when it comes to SEO, you can have this option disabled so that they can optimize an article on their end as well. Usage tracking is disabled. This is something that we've set during the first time configuration, so that's there. The next would be site policies. Now this is a premium feature, so I won't be able to demonstrate it since we're primarily looking at the free plugin now. So the options under site policies include your publishing principles. It has its own schema as well, so you'll need to look at it. There's ownership funding information and all. So all of these are primarily to have pages linked to it. So if you have a publishing principle page, which basically talks about how you go through the information before publishing it, you can have that mentioned. If you are a publisher who's funded by external sources, you can have that information there. So all of this information is passed on to Google as well, so that the search engine also understands what kind of publication you have, what kind of content comes out of it, and then ranks it accordingly. Ethics policy page, if you have that can also be mentioned here. But all of this is a part of the premium feature, so I'm going to not dive too deep in here. Site representation is the next one. Now we've already done a major chunk of site representation already, so there's not much in this tab for you to do. Next would be site connection. So you do have the option to verify your site with different tools. So you can have the meta tag added. So if it's Bing, Google, you can add a verification code here with the search console. So once we have the general configuration bit done, the next would be content types. In content types, the first one is homepage. Now this determines how your homepage would look in search results and on social media platforms. So in search appearance, under SEO title, it currently shows that this is the configuration, which it uses the site title, the page separator, and the tagline. Now previously in this tutorial, we'd seen the option to add a tagline. We'd seen the option to add the separator type as well. In my view, you can basically have the site title. You can also have customizations here. So for example, you can go ahead, customize it. So currently I wouldn't want a tagline, so I'll remove that. I don't want the separator, the page as well. So site title would be your site name that you've added. You can also add text which you would want to be visible on search engines, especially for your homepage. So currently it says site title, so I would want my site title to be visible. On top of it, I can add the best place to learn SEO, for example. You can have different bits as well, but I'm going to try out this for text. A meta description is blank, so whenever someone searches for our homepage, you see a tiny excerpt or a tiny bit of text on the SERP listing itself. So that text is what you put here. So you can go ahead, type a meta description for your page. So mine is focused around teaching publishers efficient ways of publishing on WordPress. So with this put here, The next time someone searches for Quirky Coconut, they would be able to see Quirky Coconut, the best place to learn SEO, in the title, and in the meta description, this text, which is focused around teaching publishers efficient ways of publishing on WordPress. So you can, this is very essential. A lot of websites tend to miss out on this. So once this is optimized, that's not a problem. Social media appearance is how your homepage would appear on social media. So you can add an image here. Again, a 1200 by 675 pixel image would be required. I'm using a makeshift image that I have. You can use one. Now this is primarily related to your home page only. So when someone puts in your homepage URL, this is what would show up. It's not for posts. This setting is not for individual posts, but it's for the homepage alone. Again, a social title and a social description. You do have the option to copy the same meta description for your for search engines and for social as well. But it's better if you customize it for social. I'm just using the same one, but a good practice for you would be to customize it for social media platforms. You can go ahead, save changes. And with that done, we've completed the home page content type. So now we are on posts. Now the options that we see here is going to be similar to what we've seen some time ago for home page. So this is how your post will appear on the Google search. So the default configuration is title, page, separator, and site title. Now this is something that's visible also when you're writing in a new post. You can make the changes here. So you wouldn't want the site title. So once that is removed, you can have the title and the primary category also. So you can go insert primary category. So for example, if you're a publisher who has multiple categories, whenever your article goes out, say for example, I have an entertainment article on the latest movie that's coming out. So when I type in the title for that post and I hit publish, the final post will go out as the title that I've decided, the movie name for example, followed by the primary category, which is entertainment. Now in this case, it would not look neat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a tiny separator as well. So separator would basically be a hyphen in my case. So it will be the title, movie name, a separator, and entertainment, while having the URL of my website. A meta description, you can configure it, pre-configure it of sorts, but a good idea is to write a meta description individually for each of the posts that you write. So meta description, it's a good idea to just leave it blank. You don't need to do that there. Social media is locked by premium, so not going to make any changes there. The most important bit is as you scroll down, it's on schema. The schema is how your page is looked at by search engines. So you can have the multiple schemas that are available. You need to select the schema that fits your page correctly. So for example, in my case, it's web page. Now, if you have an about page, you need to have a different schema for it. If you primarily have multiple items on your WordPress website, you can select that as the default schema. However, you can also select it on an individual post level. So there's no need to make changes here. You can keep it as the default one, which is the web page schema. And the article type can be a blog post, an article, a news article, a tech article, a report. There are multiple others. So if you are a news publisher, news article would be the right one. Yoast is also plugging in their News SEO plugin, so you can check that out. If you want me to talk about the Yoast News SEO plugin, I would want you to put that down in the comments, and when I have a sizable number of comments, I'm going to make a detailed video on this plugin as well. Apart from that, you can have blog posts. So the article type you can select here. In my case, it's a blog post, so I'm going to select blog post over here. And the other options are primarily again hidden by premium features. So you need to pay for unlocking the premium plan. Pages, again, very similar. Just like we did the settings for post, these are for pages. So you can configure it in the same manner here. Again, schema for pages. Now, For some websites, pages are different than posts. So your articles go as posts, but updates or product pages go up as pages. So you can make schema changes here as a blanket for all the pages, or you can also go down to each page and make those changes if you wish to. There's not a lot of options here. So once we're done with pages, let's scroll up and look at categories and tags. So with the categories set up here, you primarily configure how categories would be visible on search engines. So if it's a category page, how would it be visible? You can customize these category pages, add a meta description describing more about what this particular category is about. Scroll down. The social media appearance is blocked. Need to have the premium plan to do that. Under additional settings, there's the option to enable SEO controls and assessment. Now, with respect to categories, you can, if you disable this, you won't be able to see it in the WordPress editor. Next is show the category prefix in the slug. So for category URLs, slash the category name and slash would be visible. So when you're publishing an article, if you select a category as sports, for example, so it will add /sports/ right before the article. So that way, it's a good SEO practice to have this enabled so that every article in a category is listed properly. And the final bit is tags. Just like I mentioned categories, most of these settings apply to tags as well. Now, tags are a great way of finding related articles, but not entirely identical. So for example, if on a tech website, you've got a category for smartphones, you have it for laptops, you have it for monitors, for example. So these are primary categories, but tags can be events. Say for example, if it's a CES where all of these categories are displayed, you can have CES as a tag, which can go for each category. So tag is not as authoritative, is not as powerful as a category. That is why in the additional settings, you'll see that it does not have a prefix for the slug. So a tag is a great way of linking multiple related pages together. So this particular setting allows you to dictate how a tag page is visible on search. So what would the SEO title be and what the description would be like. So you can make changes here as well. I wouldn't want the site title and separator, only the page. So that way, if my tag is say CES, it will show CES and the page, the current page that is getting ranked there. I'm not going to add a meta description here. Go ahead, save changes. So we've covered a major chunk of the Yoast SEO plugin. So general is completed. We've also covered all the content types. We've covered category and tags. And then once you're done with tags, the last option is for advanced settings. Now, if you're curious to know about the advanced settings, I will be linking a video down in the description to walk you through all the advanced settings in Yoast SEO.